Welcome to Sounds of Sud. I'm your host, Jasmine. This podcast is for all the music lovers and anyone that wants to learn more about working in the music industry. Bringing you interesting insights and wild stories from DJs to festival organisers, we talk to all of the people behind the scenes that make the magic happen. So make sure to hit subscribe and I'll see you on the dance floor. Welcome, Cinty and Doolz, to Sounds of Sud, the podcast. How are you?
Really good. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my God, thank you so much for coming over after a busy day, because you guys are not local to Sydney, are you?
Yeah, I'm way up on the northern beaches, so far north that it's kind of starting to not be Sydney. But...
And I'm so far south that it's kind of starting to not be Sydney.
Yeah.
Look, we meet in the middle, it's fine.
Well, thank you so much for coming over here. I say it to everyone, but it's a lot to ask, especially in the middle of the week, so thank you so much. You ladies have come over here today because you work for DanceWize.
We do.
Yeah.
New South Wales.
DanceWize New South Wales, yes.
Yes, we do work for DanceWize New South Wales.
And first of all, maybe if one of you wants to just explain a little bit about what DanceWize is, we can go into obviously a lot more detail, and then we can talk about what you guys both do there, because you're in this, the same role. And yeah, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. So DanceWize New South Wales is a peer-based harm reduction program. So primarily, our role is to attend music festivals and provide harm reduction, both in the form of like having conversations with people about safer drug use, but also we do like a care space in case you get a little bit too wobbly and need some peer-based assistance. So not quite I need medical, but definitely I need help. We fill that space.
Yeah, or even just I want my mum. It doesn't have to be related to any sort of substances. Sometimes it's just really overwhelming and you need a cuddle from someone who is a random person. And we provide that service. There's mental health, especially in the post-COVID years, has become much more of a part of our service provision as well, providing those acute interventions. So, really sort of having a holistic approach to harm reduction that's not just associated with substance use, but also heat, cold, emotional sort of stuff that comes up in unfamiliar environments. We try and do it all.
Yeah, we do try to do it all. All of it.
Yeah, it's so good. I love what you guys do. I think I first interacted with you at Lost Paradise. I was there, not this one just gone, the one before that. I can't even remember who played now, to be honest with you, but we had a good time.
Arctic
Yes.
Yep.
And we came over and you were actually there, because I remember when I spoke to you on the phone when I was signing up to volunteer, I recognised your voice straight away. And I was like, you gave the talk at Lost Paradise. It was so weird how I could even tell that over the phone. But obviously the weather wasn't great, so when we would typically probably would have done a bit more partying, we were like, oh, what should we do? We'll go check out all of the different stuff, because like at really festivals in England, I don't know if it's just I wasn't interested in it because I was so much younger, or whether it's not a thing, but I definitely think it's not as big as a thing, or it wasn't then anyway, like all of the extracurricular activities, the circus and this and that. So I found it really interesting. So then one of the talks we went to was obviously DanceWize, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, that makes so much sense. You'll be way more likely to go and ask for help from someone that you know is not going to judge you. I think that's literally like the biggest thing in what makes like the service so good, is that it's like anything, right? The fear of anything and any kind of judgment or rejection or whatever is like really off-putting.
And that's why we make sure like we recruit exclusively from people who go to festivals and hang at festivals and are fine with these sorts of things. We make sure that the peers that we have on site are reflective of the peers that are there as patrons, because like you said, it is really important to see somebody who is like you, who has no vested interest in anything other than helping you when you're scared in the middle of a festival.
Yeah, no one wants to ask for help from someone that's like a cop or a medic that looks somewhat like their disappointed uncle. It's like if you see someone that looks like a friend, it's so much easier to ask for help.
Especially when all of your friends are whinging about you ruining their night for being sad.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of that. Friends dropping off their friends to DanceWize daycare. It turns into a little bit of that sometimes, and that's fine. Like if the middle ground between them sitting alone and crying at a festival while their friends go and have a fun time and them sitting and crying with us, like if that's the role that we play there, then that's a really important role, I think.
Yeah, we have plenty of tissues. We're all good, yeah.
Yeah, you guys actually took like the words out of my mouth, because I was going to say the biggest surprise I had when I started volunteering for you was that the fact that you can actually just drop your friends off and you don't need to stay with them.
Yeah.
I was like, that is the best idea ever, because there's nothing worse than like when your friend or yourself is like having a bad time in that kind of environment, because it's happened to everyone at some point. You don't want to ruin your friend's night, especially when they're spending so much money. You feel guilty, and then you feel even worse, and you're not like, it just spirals out of control. But if you can literally just go and leave them somewhere safe and collect them, it's like, what, like, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's really, one-stop shop. And I mean, you know, that's not to say that a large amount of our presentations don't relate to substances. Of course they do. People take drugs, and I think the more we have open and honest conversations about the fact that Australians really love taking drugs, and how to have conversations about how to do that safely, I mean, that's harm reduction, and that's ultimately what is going to save more lives, I think, than anything, is having that education available. And I think that's a really important service we provide that isn't really provided for anywhere else, especially not by the government.
And it's so interesting. Like the drug chart, I was like, wow, that's so cool. So cool and so simple, and yet probably so effective. Literally, so many of my friends, since looking at that, have stopped drinking and doing other things.
Alcohol and ketamine is a terrible idea. I will put that on a podcast. I will die on that hill. You will vomit. It will never be fun. It seems like it's fun after about 8 beers. It's not. No. Please don't.
Yeah.
One or the other.
The trip set chart, I really love it because people see it and instantly know that we're not saying don't do it. We're saying these things are risky. So yeah, like the trip set chart, you shows all of your interactions between different substances, and people see it and they kind of get really curious, and that's when they'll come in and look at it and be like, tell me more about this. I've never seen this before. It's so...
Yeah. And Harry, his knowledge is absolutely fascinating. People will come up to there and talk to him about any kind of substance you can imagine. And he said he just finds it really interesting. He spends all his time reading about it on the internet and following it. And I'm like, that, like, obviously everyone has an obsession with something, and like, it's really cool and it's super helpful.
Yeah, look, we've got a lot of special interest drug nerds, but Harry is perhaps the king of them. And, you know, it is their special interest, and they get to come somewhere and talk about it. Yeah. Where that is, you know, otherwise, where do you talk about drugs apart from, you know, on internet forums or on Reddit? And that's not necessarily good information. It's peer information, but it's not necessarily well-researched information or, you know, safe. So I think being able to have those conversations with people in person especially, and putting a sort of face to it and having those frank discussions without any of the stigma enables people to make better choices. And that's what you really want people to do.
Yeah, it's just the information to be able to
make an informed decision.
Yeah. It's so horrific when people, you know, come to harm just because they didn't know, just because the information wasn't available to them. Like, it's one thing if you make an informed decision and, you know, you're like, well, this is a risk, but I'm going to take it. But it's a completely other thing if you don't even know that it was risky. Yeah. And just, you know, letting people know that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there's that whole issue of pill testing. You don't know what you're getting when you get sold illicit drugs without testing them through pretty hectic scientific instrumentation. And the reality is the current state of the drug market is so full of frankenchemicals, which, you know, you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what the long-term effect is. It's ketamine, but it's not ketamine. And having sort of the knowledge, if not the resources, to make an informed choice about whether you take that calculated risk or not, it does save lives. It has saved lives. Like, we've seen it save lives.
The pill testing.
Not just pill testing. I mean, pill testing has absolutely saved lives in other states, not this one. Yeah. But, yeah, the education alone is enough to make people reconsider. Do I have ketamine? Do I trust this person that I'm getting it from? Have I seen someone else take it? What has their reaction been? Not just like, give it to me, I'm going to shove it up my nose.
And on that, that was one of the things I definitely wanted to touch on. God, I know, I wish I brought a notebook in here. I'm like, there's so much, I'm like, my brain's going crazy. But pill testing, obviously, for those listening, most listeners are in Australia, so I'm guessing Sydney. Do you want to touch on a bit about where we're at with that kind of stuff here, if there's any future plans, what your concerns are?
So, pill testing, they've just done a trial in Queensland at a music festival. They've done a few trials in the ACT. We're currently not allowed to do it in New South Wales. However, they just have opened up a trial of doing, you wouldn't call it pill testing, you'd call it like drug testing.
Checking.
Drug checking, because it isn't just pills. But they are doing drug checking now at the supervised injecting centre in the Cross.
Is that just for pre-existing clients?
It is, yeah. So it is for their client base kind of thing. Yeah. But they're kind of using it as a trial to, hey, can we do this in Sydney, in New South Wales, kind of thing. So
yeah. I mean, the fact that we don't have it here is simply political. I don't really think there's any way around that. There is enough evidence now from this country and from around the world to show that it is the number one way to reduce harm from illicit substances. Abstinence-based policing and harm reduction methods do not work, much the same as abstinence-only sex education doesn't work, because, you know, we've tried that since the 60s and it doesn't work. We have the ability now to test these things and to provide people with accurate information about the risk that they're going to be taking. Choosing not to do that and choosing to focus on policing and just say no approaches is really just detrimental to the overall social cause of reducing harm, and more people will die if we do not have pill testing instituted in this state. I mean, that's just a fact. The evidence backs that up, and I don't really understand why we don't yet, other than conservative politics, which really, I mean, Queensland is more progressive than us.
Yeah, mad.
I mean, I don't know if you remember Joe Bilky Peterson, but like, there was a time in Australia where no one could ever perceive Queensland being progressive on these sorts of things. And now we're here, the largest state in Australia, letting kids die at music festivals, preventable deaths.
Constantly.
They're preventable.
Can you tell... Sorry, you go.
I say it's so weird though, because we were the first state to have a supervised drug consumption room in the form of the injecting centre in King's Cross. Like, nowhere else in Australia had that. They had to rewrite a heap of legislation to make it okay to possess heroin just in this one building in King's Cross, kind of thing. And we did that before anyone else, and then
we had 14 years of a Liberal government.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's what happened. And yeah, and now all
what
of
government?
these
What government introduced that one?
So it was the Labor government that introduced that.
And now we're Liberal.
And then we had 14 years of Liberal government. So we went from being the leaders in the nation to behind Queensland.
Yeah.
I see. And on that, rabbits eats lettuce.
Yeah. Moved to Queensland because they couldn't go ahead in New South Wales anymore.
I didn't even. That wasn't even what I was getting at. I was going to say because they had the pill testing.
No,
but that's interesting. Tell me more.
That kind of leads into this, doesn't it? And it leads into the fact that, was it 2017, 18? 18, 19, the coronial.
Oh, that was 1819, yeah.
So 1819, there was the coronial inquest into festival deaths in New South Wales.
No, it was the 1819 festival season. Yes. It was after that.
Yes,
yeah,
after that.
Yeah.
So 6 deaths?
Pretty sure it was at least 4.
Fact check that, but I think it was 6.
Yeah.
And if you have a look at the coronial, it's an interesting read, and I recommend anybody, like, if you want to go read a coronial inquest, this is the one to read. The emotion and the soul-searching journey that the coroner goes on from the start of the paper through the paper it really is a testament to why this is necessary, and why when you actually sit down and think about it and look at all the evidence, it's not really, like, it's not hard to come to that conclusion. So they made a bunch of recommendations out of that coronial inquest. One of them was to get rid of sniffer dogs at festivals. One of them was to significantly reduce the number of police at festivals and invest more money in harm reduction services and medical services. There was a lot of other recommendations. And institute pill testing. Instead, we got the music festival regs.
Oh, we got amnesty bins for a festival season.
Yeah, but then they got taken away.
They didn't do much.
No.
The 5 people that used it over an entire festival.
Oh my God,
season.
really?
Cindy, you have worked with these since their inception. Tell us about the music festival guidelines and why no one can make a profit in New South Wales at a festival anymore.
That's amazing, because I was going to say, obviously I met you guys at Return to Rio and their thing has just been all over the media, so please do, because I'm very interested.
Okay, so the music festival guidelines, which are available online, you can go and read them. so what is it? The music festival guidelines for music festival organizers, I believe it's called, something like that. So it kind of has all of this kind of management criteria, and it's like this is how many medics you need per 10,000 people. This is as many harm reduction workers, which is us, you need on site per 10,000 people, and also how many police. And the police number is very, very, very high, and they're all paper user pays police. So that cost just of the police alone is...
They get paid $126 an hour before midnight, and you usually have to have at least 16 user pays on site for a 15,000 person festival, something like that.
Yeah, and usually there's more like 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that
Astronomical
cost is really hurting festival organisers.
Also having to have, I think there's the 2 securities as well, so
Yeah.
there's an additional burden of that. And to get subject to these guidelines, that is a completely arbitrary process.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So it's all run by ILGA, the Independent Liquor and Gaming Authority. They get to decide who is subject to these additional onerous regulations and who is not. The conditions on which they decide that, as drafted in the legislation, are so vague, it could be anything.
It's kind of... So there are some things written. It's like, is the festival over 9 hours?
Electronic music.
Is it electronic music? Is it over 3 stages, 9 hours, 10,000 people... if the festival has been problematic in the past as well, or if either health or the police brings it to the attention that it should be subject.
Yours and ours was subject because it was next to a highway.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the rules are so vague, it's completely up to the person's discretion who is working in the office that day.
Yeah, Independent Liquor and Gaming's discretion as to what becomes subject and what's not, and that decision is hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases for the promoter. And also they have to apply to, so if they have a couple of good runs, so there was Grapevine, right?
Yeah.
Grapevine had a few good runs, no, massive issues. And so they had to apply through ILGA using their own money and whatever to have this lifted. I think they did that 3 times. They did it a few times. And at some point promoters have said, if this keeps happening and we can't get off this list, we can't afford to run this festival in New South Wales.
And that what's happened to Return to Rio? They said their police costs for this year got quoted at an extra 568% or something.
Wouldn't surprise
It
me.
was wild.
Oh, yeah, because it was so dangerous last year.
It was
Right?
It was a party in a caravan park. That was
the most chill.
The most offensive thing at that festival was the woman in the crew camp who was having extremely loud sex until like 6 a.m. in the morning. And then I put on an audiobook at its loudest volume and it finally stopped. And then she came out and waved to us the next morning. That was the most eventful thing.
That was the most eventful thing,
Yeah, because
actually.
working in dance, we had... Are you allowed to say that? How many picks? How many incidents?
We had...
it was minimal.
How can we anonymise that?
It wasn't very many.
There wasn't a lot.
It was a handful.
Yeah.
Like, we have festivals where we are overrun with people. They're hanging off the walls. We're holding spew bags in hands, one in each hand. But that was not that festival.
This was very chill, yes.
That was
Very, very
very nice.
I went to an event with you guys where I was talking to you guys and you had just had a really terrible time at Knockout because you were sorry to bring it up.
Just all of us look
Yeah.
into the void, just
to the
knock out.
distance.
Yeah.
Obviously, we won't go into specifics, but it was a hard style festival.
Yeah, look, a lot of... I say this...
Oh, look, no one is going to be
All
surprised
the
by the fact
time.
that we're busy at Knockout.
I say this all the time. The rest of the festival industry can cease to exist, but HSU punters will still buy tickets and sell out every HSU event. We can count on them for our jobs, and I love those guys. And the
They run a tight
promoters.
ship.
Who are they?
HSU, Harder Stars United.
Okay.
So that's Ollie and Pete. Brilliant guys, wonderful, and they really care about their community. And so that was a tough festival, but that wasn't on them. No one puts more effort into crowd care and making sure that the harm reduction is forefront of mind than I think that community, those promoters and that community of people.
Well, if you had, because that's definitely not what I was alluding to at all. I was just going to say, you had 2 care spaces. It was a huge event and you still had so many people. You guys were inundated. So it's crazy to think, people are going to use the service, like, and they should give you more funding and more, like...
Do you know what? No matter how many people I put on my roster, no matter how much space I ask for at an event, I realised last weekend with the last event that we did, it will never be enough. There will always be more people who need help. And I mean, that's a little bit daunting because, yeah, we don't have infinite funds.
You know, we really don't.
And we
Who pays for you? Who pays for you? The event organizer, I assume?
So we are funded by a mixture of event fees and also we have a Ministry of Health grant as well.
Okay.
But we don't cost a lot in terms of, you know, fees that we charge for the service that we provide.
Oh, you know, if they
We're
were...
very reasonable.
Yeah, and the service honestly is like incredible, and going around and doing it, like I loved it. I thought it was so much fun, like because I'm usually on the other side of it, like going around and interacting with a load of fucked people and it's usually you is like really interesting, and the conversations people want to have with you, it's like and you still get to enjoy the music. So do you want to talk about, I'm not sure if there's any plans to change it, but what you're currently doing in terms of if someone is listening and thinks, oh, that's interesting, I might like to volunteer, do you want to go into what the gig is?
Doolz is our recruitment guru.
Always be recruiting. That is my motto. I may have it tattooed on me one day. I've recruited people from care spaces. It's been fantastic. Yeah, look, I love people loving this as much as I do, and my whole thing of getting people in the door and keeping them here is making them love it just as much as I do. Is it my autistic special interest? Perhaps. But yeah, all you need to do, if you want to come and join us, we would love to have you. You just hop onto our website and go to the volunteer tab, fill in an application form, and someone will be in touch within a month or so to book you in for a 3-hour online induction.
We do a vibe check first.
Oh, we do? Yeah, sorry. Someone will give you a call to make sure that you're not a creep. No, I'm kidding. Anybody who listens to this podcast obviously is our people. So anyone who is listening, please hit me up. Tell me that you found me on SOUNDSOFSUD and I will give you a call. We'll do a quick vibe check and then we just enroll you in. So we have to do 3 hours of induction. That basically just goes through our standard operating procedures, some drug pharmacology, and also just some expectations and boundary setting because, you know, working in a peer space, that's...
Yeah, peer space with vulnerable people. Yeah.
It's a hard area for boundaries.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Because as you said, often you're the person who's like gacked and now you have to sort of be that person who is... So, you know, there is an expectation of sobriety for your shift. After your shift, I don't want to know.
Fly be free.
Go and have fun. Yes. if you get caught with anything, we don't know you.
But if you're in trouble, come back. We'll look after you.
Yeah, you are welcome to stay at Hotel DanceWize. And look, we have a lot of social things. We provide a lot of training. Cinty, tell them about the training.
Oh my goodness. So we do a lot of trainings. We have like monthly team meetings and we try to always get some good training in there. We've got a relationship with Dr. Rob. Where is Rob working?
Dr. Rob Page, the loveliest drug and alcohol. So Rob used to run the Gorman unit.
He is an amazing drug and alcohol doctor. And he comes in and does some drug pharmacology talks with us. We've got connections with Wild Minds, who does some of our trip setting psychedelic crisis training. We've also got a heap of internal trainings that we do around things like, you know, our operating procedures and how to use a goddamn radio. But, you know, we always get people in. We had CanTest come in and give a talk to us who are doing the drug testing down in Canberra.
And recently the ministry has really acknowledged the extra work we do around the mental health sort of acute intervention, and we are sort of doing mental health first aid training. So we're getting everyone upskilled on that. So, you know, there's a lot of skills here that are transferable. And that's what a lot of the feedback is, right, from volunteers, that this has real-world implications. So
looks great on your resume.
It looks great. So many people have gotten jobs off the back of DanceWize that have absolutely nothing to do with health.
Yeah.
Because I think people see that if you're willing to show up and give your free time to help other people, I mean, that's a pretty good testament of character.
Yeah.
I know everybody that I work with always gives it their all, and sometimes in very fucking trying circumstances.
I can imagine.
But yeah, look, it is fun, and like I tell people in the induction, 95% of the time it's a fucking great time.
Yeah.
5% of the time it can be a little traumatic, but we do have a lot of things in place to...
Yeah, you have like the employee support.
Yeah,
What's it called? EAP.
Yeah, we can provide you counselling sessions and everything like that.
We have really comprehensive sort of debriefing strategy, like, you know, we don't just be like, okay, so you've all experienced some vicarious trauma, go be free. We do like to follow up with people, and we do check in, and obviously, you know, what do we say? You're our most important pick?
Yes,
Yes.
you are
your-
your most important pick.
Yes.
Yes.
So we really make sure that people prioritise their own well-being, and nobody is giving spoons that they don't have to care for people, because it is a lot sometimes, and it is hard, but it is really rewarding.
Yeah, it's the hard times that are most rewarding, though.
There's a lot of trauma.
Oh my God, there was someone I interacted with at one of the festivals, and he was like so grateful for the help, and I was like, that's okay. It's nice to help people, you know.
Honestly, my kids are not very validating. I get my validation from cook people at festivals.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I feel like a good human. But I was at some random event that we were doing a little while ago, and this guy came up to me, and I thought I'd gone to uni with him. I hadn't. He had selfies from the last 4 events of us in the care space. And I'm like, but you're not in the care space now. And he's like, let's get a selfie. And you know what? That made my heart really big. I was like, 4 events and you just keep coming back.
That's
Must be good
crazy.
service.
There was someone saying something about someone, sorry, I'm trying to keep it super vague, that came to them and said thank you, and they had helped them at a previous event when they were in a really bad situation, which I think you've all had, actually, or a few of you have had that on multiple occasions.
Yeah, I had someone come back and make an appointment.
I don't need you now, but I'll probably need you in an hour
That's
and a half.
what it was. He came by, gave me a big, high five, big, bro hug, and he's like, see you in a few hours. And I'm like, sir, no, that's not a goal. I mean, please do come back if you ever need us, but it's not a goal.
Do you want to talk about risk management first?
Hilarious. So in terms of going to the event as a volunteer, you probably need to highlight the fact you don't have to work the whole event, obviously. Yeah, do you want to explain the deal with like a single day and a multi-day event?
Yeah, so if we're having like a single day event, we'll generally chop it into 2 shifts. So you either get the first half or the second half of the party to go and, experience the festival and see the music and not have to be constantly looking out for people that are having a wobbly time. At multi-day festivals, we generally ask for two shifts in between 6 to 8 hours, and then the rest of the time, yes, fly be free so long as you're sober for your next shift.
Yeah, and we have like stuff with the multi-days which make it nicer than normal.
Yeah.
So we have like, apart from that lady who crashed our camp at Return to Rio, that was just the poor movie I never wanted to hear. Yeah, like we've got staff camping. We often, at Lost Paradise, we have hot showers. We have staff toilets, which is still gross, but not
Better
as gross.
than the patron ones, yep.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of perks for sure.
Yeah, you get a meal token for the shift that you work. And for the longer festivals, the cost of volunteering is really high. We acknowledge that. So we try and do what we can. Lost Paradise, for example, we provided breakfast. Cinty's parents, bless them.
My parents came in a camper van and made all of the volunteers breakfast.
No, they didn't.
It was super cute.
That's so nice.
I love Cinty's
That's so
parents.
wholesome. I would
is
love
so
to
good.
see
Like,
someone.
I didn't want any of our really committed volunteers that are really great at harm reduction to have to spend time making everyone breakfast. And then my parents are there being like, we can help. And I'm like, you're not really peer-based harm reductionists, but can you make a cheese toast?
Oh, so someone had agreed to fund the food, but someone actually needed to cook it.
Yeah.
So you didn't want them having to do even more.
Yeah.
Cinty's
Right.
parents are some of the greatest people.
Yeah, they would be. They would be. Well, she's great. So I imagine they have good parents. You both must, I would say.
Oh God, no, mine are awful. Cut that bit. I need to stay in the will.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, my parents aren't nearly as committed. But no, look, we have a lot, like it takes a village. Like,
Yeah.
all of our families to some extent have been dragged into this at some point.
Oh,
I can imagine. And with the people, so for us, a festival of Lost Paradise, for example, which was 15,000 this year.
Yeah, 15.
15,000. Do you want to say a bit about, because we haven't really gone into like what you guys actually, like you individually do for the business. So you've got a head of the division of the program, would you say? Which is...
We've got a Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, so look,
We've got 3 coordinators.
DanceWize started
Oh, goodness, we're going back to the Dim Ducks.
No, look, let's just talk about where we started and where we are, because
Yep.
I think that is a journey that needs exploring. And
Okay.
I think that we've got the DanceWize historian here who has all the secrets.
Oh,
So both go into how long you've both been there too, because you've got like quite a very interesting stories.
So I've been with DanceWize New South Wales the entire time. So I was actually the first DanceWize volunteer that the program had.
Is it
Were you?
2018?
17. Yeah,
You
so
were the first volunteer.
I was the first volunteer.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
I actually worked on the ground floor at a different harm reduction organisation on the ground floor of the building that NUAA was on, and one of the guys came down and told us like, hey, we're starting this new program and it's going to be youth based, we're going to go to festivals. And
Was it Dan Burns?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
It was lovely Rod's boyfriend. It was glorious.
Oh.
Anyway, came down. He's like, also, you're the other young person I know that works in harm reduction. And I'm like, I'm there. And he's like, well, we're not really taking applications yet. I'm like, I'm there. And he's like, well, I'll tell you when we are. And I'm like,
Yeah, I've
calling
already
them
signed up.
upstairs. And I'm like, just write my name on a piece of paper. I'm doing this. I am coming to a festival with you, whether you want me or not.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you regret that decision?
I've loved it from day dot. But that first festival that we did as DanceWize New South Wales, we went to Dragon Dreaming. And we had not worked out a lot of the kinks in our program yet. Fast forward to today, we've got 3 coordinators as opposed to 1.5 that we had in the Dim Darks. And so we've got 3 coordinators as opposed to 1.5 that we had before. And as coordinators, we're there doing all the training for the volunteers. We're coordinating, doing the rosters for festivals. We're making sure everyone gets fed there. We're doing on-the-spot counselling for our volunteers. We're negotiating with promoters and event organisers.
Sometimes yelling.
Sometimes yelling. Negotiating, yelling, advocating.
Hard.
Advocating hard. We also liaise with the medical teams because, of course, we work with them quite closely, having referral pathways backwards and forwards. We do also talk to the police as well, and especially over the past few years, they've started listening to us a lot more about how they can actively help in harm reduction.
Some of them are really nice.
Some of them are really nice.
And I'm really interested and really want to know. I've had some really great conversations over the last year with... It's been at places where there have been critical incidents and they've come up and they've been like, what's happened? What is going on? I mean...
How can we help?
How can we help?
Yeah.
What are we looking for? Like, what can we do to help? Which, compared to 5 years ago, I don't know, I wasn't around then.
5 years ago they did not want to give us the time of day. But now we're getting really respected as the harm reductionists. And, even the police are coming up and being like, what should we be doing? How should we be keeping people out of trouble?
And I think it really is reflected in our volunteer base as well. I mean, we've got such a diverse... The peers that we have is from such diverse backgrounds. Like
Everyone is so different.
Yeah, like
So
we've got
different.
law professors, like we've got postal workers, we've got every job in between, and somewhere somebody knows the answer to whatever weird question you have.
Yeah.
If it's drugs, it's usually Harry. But, anything. I mean, my background's in medicinal chemistry and law. Cinty, yours is in, like, fucking management. Like, Tim's is in... what did Tim do?
Criminology.
Like,
Hilarious.
we've got nurses, we've got social workers. So, like, every person who comes to the site brings their own specific cool skill set and, they're not acting in their capacity as they would 9 to 5 Monday, but everybody has these tools that they can pull out. So we don't have to have all the answers. We just need to know where all the keys are. And, we have a really good relationship with all of our volunteers, I think. And
How many would you say are your regular volunteers that like show up multiple, you know their names, you know them?
I reckon we've got about 90 regulars.
way more than we've ever had in the 2.5 years that I've been here.
Wow.
Yeah, the community has really grown and flourished into a really positive, nice place to be. And I think that the diversity of that base is really what makes us who we are. Like, it's not me, Tim or Cinty, it's us pulling everyone together and putting on a show and making sure that the wheels don't fall off is basically our job. And then Monday to Friday, we're planning for the next one, or we're designing trainings. We've been approached by universities to design some trainings because, you know, in a lot of the residential dorms.
Yep. They want us to go and talk to the people living in Uni Lodge about
NANGs.
NANGs.
And that's a new thing.
Yes.
That's so interesting, and it's so cool that people are actually being proactive and like engaging you for that kind of stuff. It really shows whether, you know, how you guys can evolve over time and become bigger and like more important. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, and look, we're having more people, you know, we talked about the regulations before. Those people have to have us there.
Yeah.
They're mandated to have us there. They don't have a choice. I mean, we're the cheapest thing and we probably do the most work for the least price, but they don't have a choice. So what we're seeing now is smaller venues and promoters. You know, for instance, we did a couple of weeks ago.
Ocean Alley?
We did Ocean Alley down at UAW, where I saw my four-time care space buddy, and the day shift. So, you know, these regular local events, that people are choosing to have us there because they're seeing the value in our service. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's like, that must have been like a huge wow when you got that email, like, oh my God, they want us to go there, like, and they're gonna...
The wow one was the Fred again.
Yeah. Okay, that was probably the worst week of my life at this
That
job.
was a lot of again and again and again.
I've seen Fred again too many times.
But they really wanted us there to help out the crowd, and it was really...
it was optional. They weren't mandated.
They did not need to have us there. They wanted us there.
I'm sorry, their promoter is now a DanceWize volunteer. So... They saw the value they wanted to be a part of it.
He wasn't a promoter, he was on the event team. But
oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I don't know if I asked this before, but I don't feel like we answered it if we did. How many, so you've got at a festival, you've got someone pulling it together, a coordinator, which is what the two of you do. And then you've got someone who goes and works in the ECC. So they're the...
Yeah. So we've got 4 or 5 casuals that will do the ECC shift. Do you want
to explain what ECC is as well?
Oh, so all of our rovers. So we have rovers out in the party, you know, looking out, and they're literally just wandering around, looking for people that are in trouble and need assistance, kind of thing, with a radio on them. So we've actually got a representative in the emergency control centre that's listening into all of those radio calls. So if any of them find someone that, you know, needs help or maybe really urgently needs medical, they're there to receive those radio calls and liaise with the medical team, being like, they'll actually turn physically to a medical representative and be like, you guys need to get, you know, a team to this location right now. You know, we've got a serious thing there, kind of thing. So yeah, our ECC reps are really important. We love them a lot, and they deal with a very high stress environment. Yes,
it also, having a spot in that ECC is not something we've always had, and now it's become standard with our practice.
Yeah.
So it's really a testament to how integral we've become to those sort of regulated spaces and how important the work that we do there is, and it is recognised a lot more in a professional sense, I think, which is really important because, you know, you're delivering a very serious message. And yeah, sure, we're doing it with sparkles and, you know, glitter and all the things, but it is a serious message, and you need people to take you seriously and to consider you as experts in your field, which, you know, all we do is talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah.
I have not written my PhD yet, but I feel like I could probably have written about 8. You could probably have written about 20 in the last 5 years.
So they're the kind of eyes in a way, because they're next to the police, they're next to the ambulance. They've got everyone's own thing has a link to that room, and then they so how you can call it's very smart. Obviously I'm sure that there's very complex systems for this kind of stuff, but I've never been exposed to it, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Cameras everywhere.
Emergency command centres are the coolest and scariest rooms.
Do not scratch your ass at Sydney Olympic Park if you do not want to be observed.
So an emergency control centre or room will be a little it's like a war room, and everyone's in there, and you'll have a representative from like ambulance and one from the medical teams, and you'll have like us, and then you'll have the police and security, but then you've also got the people that manage the bars and the artist teams, and everyone's just in this room all talking to each other to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible at a festival. And yeah, there's usually a wall of TV screens where they've got cameras on the entirety of the crowd. If you are at Sydney Olympic Park, like, we're not kidding, they can see absolutely everything. But, you know, they're there watching the crowd, looking out for people and coordinating radio calls across everyone and all these different teams just to make sure everyone stays safe.
And then we've got the team leaders who are in the care space, and so that their job basically is to run the group of volunteers in the care space, allocate people in care to them, document the care, make sure the paperwork's in order, because as a ministry funded program we do have to report and we have KPIs to meet, but also at the base of it, if someone does have a critical incident or, you know, our paperwork forms part of that sort of investigation, if there is one, and it has happened in the past. And so, you know, we have a pretty high threshold of, you know, keeping documentation and keeping records. It's not just a, hey, how's it going? Here's a beanbag, sit down, good luck.
Yeah.
It is a very tightly run operation in those big events.
If you fall asleep in our care space, you will be awoken every 20 minutes to make sure you are still with us. We are very sorry, but we have to do it. Because we are checking on you and making sure that everyone is safe and well in our space.
Yeah, and it's all very well like organised. So Lost Paradise, 15,000 people. There's your you know, either one of you, the ECC person, and how many other people have you got with you to pull off a 5-day festival?
We try to get 200.
200?
If we could get 200 volunteers, we would take 200
200?
volunteers to Lost Paradise.
I'll drive them myself.
We can't usually get 200. It's usually a lot closer to 100. But if we could get 200 for Lost Paradise, we would take them and we would definitely be able to make use of it. Lost Paradise is...
It's a marathon.
Oh, it is a marathon. Multi-day festivals are less like running a festival and more like running a town for a few days.
It's like being the mayor of the most cooked town you've ever been in for a while. Everyone's high, everyone's crying, nobody has a house, they're all intense.
Yeah, it's
and on the fourth day, everyone's taken way too much acid.
Oh, yeah. And things just happen at festivals more than they do in real life. Like, you will experience more breakups and, you know, more like absolutely joyous moments, of course. Like, festivals are an amazingly fun, creative place to be, but with that just becomes just so much more things happen in such a small amount of time. And
that's what I've always said, and like pretty much my motivation for starting this is like when you go to a festival with someone, you've like shared an experience that you've just connected with them on a way like you can't even begin to imagine to other people, because you've literally been through the wars together and back. Like, you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I cannot even face doing anything today. And then sure enough, the music comes on, up you get, and you have the best fucking time ever. You know?
What was my line at Lost? People get very intense.
yes, they do.
That was what I kept repeating to myself on day 4 of Lost Paradise. I'm like, the tense, they just make people intense.
Yeah, 200. That's mind blowing. Because I remember you guys were struggling a little bit. So one of my friends is she organises meetups and stuff for all the English and Irish people. And
Desmond, I'm pretty sure you started off at Lost Paradise.
Oh yeah, no, all of your friends that came to Lost Paradise really did help. Yes.
Yeah, but no, I didn't. But I didn't know them at all. My friend just has a big following.
It was incredible. It was half expats. Everybody fell in love with the Irish sailor. It was great. I think, you know, those guys made some amazing doof sticks, and it's a great way to sort of meet people in the community in a natural way when you're an expat.
Definitely. Yeah. And so I was going to say, my friend Rachel, all she did was share it on her story for me. I then sent them across, and I was just like sending them all over to you. I was like, no, sorry, I don't know this person, but like
they were all great.
Take them. And they will, because for an expat, especially if you've just got here, I've been here a long time. I've been here for 9 years next month. But when I first got here, I didn't have any fucking money to be going to a 4-day, especially the fucking cost of them.
Yeah.
It's expensive. Like, pitches are $2,000 weekend.
Yeah.
Minimum $2,000. So I'm older, I'm at a different point in my career. I can afford to go to that kind of stuff now. But when I first got here, I couldn't. When you're on a casual job, you don't know if you're going to get hours from this day to the next. Your rent can go up at any moment. So for if I had known about that way back when, I would have been all over it. Well, it wasn't actually a thing because I got here in 2015. So, but if I had, I would have been on it way sooner, for sure.
The second sign up after
you know, it's a great way to see a lot of festivals.
How many festivals have you been to?
Oh my God, someone asked this. We were having like a stakeholder meeting and everyone was like, go around the circle and say how many festivals you've been at. And I'm like, over 70? I don't know. Like, worked out over 70, yeah.
You would have gone to at least 10 last year, if not more.
Yeah.
19, I did 19 last year.
19 last year, wow.
I don't even know how many.
And
I've
it's
done
like,
this
and
year,
I've
all of them.
seen so many different genres of music, and
Some of them so many times.
and met so many different people as well. So it's kind of like you go to a festival and you get given friends, and you get given food, and you get given all of these cool acts to see, and you know you camp with us. So it's like these are your friends, and this is your family, and it's so great.
Yeah, there's actually so many benefits from doing it, not just the free ticket. Like you say, it's if you want to go and none of your friends want to go, you get to go, and it's like half the cost of going because you only,
We
minimal
will
expenses.
hook you up with people to carpool with. We are,
And everybody finds like friends. Like I've never met anybody who's come to a DanceWize festival and hasn't left with at least one friend.
Yeah, and whoever you do that shift with, you're
bonded for life.
You're drinking with them afterwards, you know.
But that is
your jam.
exactly what happened with Robin and I. Exactly. I got paired with her. We did roving, and I was like, "This bitch is crazy. I love her."
It does have the vibes of it,
Yeah.
I was like,
You will find your particular brand of weirdo at DanceWize. We have them all. But yeah, no, it is a really lovely sense of community. I like that. Like that's what made me really love it. I think because it's hard to make friends as an adult.
100%. So
really
that's
is.
my friend Rachel who shared it for me. She does this whole thing about like loneliness and meetups and all this stuff and day trips with people in Sydney. I'm like, I really struggled when I first got here, and you're almost
hard.
ashamed to talk to anyone about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you get like forced into these friendships, like for example with me, where I had kids and I'm like, well, I guess the people whose kids are my age at school are my friends now, and I didn't really have a lot in common with a lot of them, and like, I'm a bit weird. And
in such a good way.
yeah, but
And then
like
you
not
came
in
in-
a suburban Shire way, so that wasn't. Yeah.
And you came and joined us, and you camped in the mud with us, and now you're one of us.
Now I have an expensive tent.
So can you tell me actually? So where did you come into the whole thing?
Where did I come in? Fuck.
Did you volunteer?
You turned
Yeah.
up. You turned up at an induction one day, and then you had on this cool shirt, and then I wanted you to be my mum because you knew a lot about drugs and told me to take more magnesium.
Did you take more magnesium, Cinty?
Yes, I did.
I talked about 2CB for a while. And then I met Harry and I'm like, well, I don't know fucking anything, do I? So yeah.
Sorry, just on that. My friend tells me a lot about the 2CB, and it never used to be a thing in Australia. He used to talk about it from England and say it was impossible, and then now I know that
Research chemicals. Yeah. Anything that has a functional group stuck onto the end of a 2CB molecule now is a researched or designer drug. It's very popular in the eastern suburbs. And I'm like, you guys can afford cocaine. Come on.
Interesting. But sorry, I completely cut you
No,
off there. So
I don't
said
know
I wasn't
what I
going
was
to do
talking
that.
about at any time.
But where did we get you? I knew you because I did your induction, but how did you find us before that?
Oh, my friend Grace. So I was doing my honours at Wollongong, my honours year, and my friend Grace volunteered. Grace hasn't volunteered. I ran into them the other day. Yeah, and they were like, you should do this thing. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And then it just became my life.
It'll do that.
And now I'm here.
And then we
obviously-
hired you.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you obviously had a different job. So what made you?
I was about to start my PhD in analytical chemistry. I am really glad I didn't do that. I don't think that was the right path for me.
What were you hoping to like? I don't even know what that means.
I just wanted my parents to be proud of me. Turns out that's never going to happen. So here I am. Yeah, no, my mum kept calling my PhD into like analytical chemistry into drugs, that drug thing. And I was like, yeah, I guess. So yeah, I kind of just ended up here because I loved volunteering, and then a job came up and I'm like, well, why the fuck not? Let's do this all the time. So I've been, I think Knockout was the first festival I actually got paid for.
That was the bad one.
Oh, it's just one
Knockout
now.
is a very big, very big,
How many
very long
people?
festival.
It was 50,000 last year, and they want to make it even bigger this
Yeah,
year.
it is a big festival.
It is the biggest one that we do in
Is that
terms of
50,000
patrons.
people for one day?
50,000 people one day. Yeah, it's a huge day.
That's intense.
It's a lot, and in that space, it's a lot. But
It's a great time, but it is a lot of
it's a
people.
lot of people. It's weird how desensitized you become to it, though. I don't know about
What's
you.
the weirdest thing you've ever seen at a festival?
We see it all, and we see it from behind the scenes, and we see it while sober. So
There's so many weird things, and you know what? They don't even have to do with drugs. Just some shit that people like at Lost Paradise, right? This has got nothing to. These kids, they just left all their camping equipment.
oh
and
yeah, no, that is
bailed.
absolutely insane.
And-
Lost Paradise, they just leave, and there's like just
brand new swags everywhere. So one of our volleys was like, fuck this, got in their Subi and went and collected, oh God, it would have been thousands of dollars.
Like it's brand new.
Brand new camping equipment used once.
And they just left?
Shoved it all in his car, was like,
Him,
going home to Facebook Marketplace.
7 mattresses strapped to the top of his car, and he's like going through the
giant
campgrounds.
swags, brand new. These kids just walk out.
They obviously went to Scots College then, I
Yeah,
suppose.
their parents bought them new camping gear for Christmas and they'll buy it again next Christmas.
Yeah, no, they just leave
Wild.
stuff at festivals.
So it's very common for people to leave stuff at festivals, but like cheap stuff. At Pitch, I kid you not, I was honestly down there with my business hat on and I was like, I could do something with this. Like like you say, expensive stuff. That's crazy.
I'm pretty sure one of our volunteers had a very nice time on Facebook Marketplace with that gear.
Yeah, if you've gone there
and
in a-
more power to them because it was just going to get dumped.
Yeah, if you've got a van to take it home in, why the fuck not?
Oh, they made that Subaru do hard work.
Yep.
I've
Hilarious.
never seen a Subaru work harder.
Just seeing him come back across the campground, and he's like going over the hillsides and
It was like
mattresses on the top of it.
flying everywhere, and I'm just like, I don't know what this is, but I'm here for it.
Why not? Why not? And then what else? I'm sure you've got
What
some
else
good ones.
is weird? God, there's some weird stuff.
So cooked people are my favourite people. By far.
It's hard not to say the cook shit you see without incriminating anyone.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
No,
fair
I
enough.
think I've got one that I can tell
Yeah, do
because
generic
it was
ones outside the care space. That's fine.
No, I'm telling a care space.
All right,
story.
go.
So a lovely patron at a festival was brought to us by their friends because they were very anxious and they had obviously taken a few substances, but they were having a really hard time. They were freaking out, and the cause of this freak out that we learned when we brought them in, sat them down, cup of tea, how are we going? Was that no one believed them that Henry Cavill was the hottest man on the planet. Really panicked. Just, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. He's so hot. You need to look. Going through Google Images.
I remember this.
Showing photos. No, but look.
But like for 3 hours, whoever was
He's the
there
hottest man in the universe, right? Poor
I wonder
Jason
if
was sitting there being like, yes.
Yes.
And the whole care space had to be in on it. And we're all agreeing, being like, no. We're not agreeing just to placate you. This is a very attractive man. The Witcher had just come out. We were all very much on board.
He is a conventionally very
with
attractive
him being
man.
the hottest man in the universe. We're like, yeah, no, actually, at the moment, might be. Yep, no, we're agreeing. He goes, no, but look.
Yeah. There was some
Next
passion.
photo, look.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
The
That's
anxiety.
so funny.
And, like obviously we try to make people that have anxiety feel a lot more comfortable and, in a space where, you're safe and, you don't need to be stressed, but...
I bet you see all sorts of stuff.
Oh my
All
goodness.
sorts. I mean, I've even seen a little bit of myself and I'm like, wow. And they were like quite, somewhat quiet events. And I'm sure there's a lot, so I don't want to open a huge emotional can of worms, but what's
We're completely desensitized now, don't worry.
I was going to say, what's the hardest part for you, other than the lack of support from the government?
Not being able to pay the volunteers, that
Yeah.
sucks. Like, I hate that. I don't know about you. I
really do as well.
It sits very badly with me because this isn't picking up cans at a festival.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this isn't a volunteer, hey, come and volunteer at this festival. You have a great... Like, there's a level of skill and a level of expertise that need to be employed when you're dealing with very vulnerable people in these settings. And the fact that we can't pay those people to do it, apart from a festival ticket and a meal token and a bit of vicarious trauma for good measure, that sits wrong with me. And it will always sit wrong with me. And until we can pay these people to do more work than the police or the security at sometimes are doing, I don't think that it's a great deal in terms of...
And you're so much more approachable too.
Look, I can see why people love it, and I absolutely think people should do it, and I absolutely think it's worthwhile. I feel like people should be paid to do this work.
Yeah, it's... I just want to be able to provide more. Like, even if you were still volunteering, it's... So our volunteers still, you have to bring your own tent, and you have to get there, and it can be really hard, and I just want to be able to, get big camper vans for everyone and,
Make it a bit better.
Cinty and I spend a lot of time looking at greys for, like, buses.
We do.
That we can just put everyone on a bus and go.
Oh my God, a bus would be such a good idea.
Yeah, call the ministry. Tell them that we need a bus. There's so many on grades.
It's in the financial year coming up. We can get one in the budget.
Look, they're cheap, man. And Cinty, you can get a bus license, right? It'll be fine. We'll find.
I have crashed the van a few times.
Okay, somebody in the volunteer pool will have a heavy vehicle license. I'm sure of it. Yeah, like it's not being able to. That's what sits with me more than any of the traumas that I've seen, like drug trauma and stuff. Now I'm just kind of like, it is what it is, and we can do what we can.
With what you've got, and what is the most interesting thing you've discovered since working at DanceWize? Like, it could be either a drug fact or just something bizarre. Like, what do you find interesting?
People will still do ketamine and alcohol together, no matter how many fucking times you tell them not to. No, that's not a real one.
It's valid though.
It's a sad fact of life.
Look, I've gotten a huge insight into like the behind the scenes working of music festivals, and it is absolutely fascinating how much work goes into it by like these promoters and event organizers who honestly just want this to be the best party possible, and they've got so much going on to put on, like sometimes, you know, events that last for 6 hours, and they are just there pouring their heart and soul into it. And
look, the promoters that have a lot of passion and aren't, you know, the ones that are in it for the money and they don't exist anymore because there is none. So yeah, seeing people put on their passion projects and seeing that come to fruition and seeing how the sausage is made.
Seeing how the sausage is made is
really
absolutely fascinating.
No, that's like a very valid point. It is fascinating. Even what I'm so interested in that, and I would love to know more. But like to see what you guys see is it's incredible. It's incredible. So we did. What did we say? Hardest part, most interesting part. What's the best part? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway.
The volunteers.
Yeah, volunteers.
No, like I do like my dream job with the best people in the world, and we get to help people together. And the volunteers are honestly the best people I've ever met. Yeah.
I have so many more friends now than I've ever had in my life, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because I was the kid that it was hard for me to make friends. I was weird, and we're all a little bit weird, but like in the best way. And yeah, that sense of community and helping people.
Yeah.
Having a job that
shared goal.
Yeah, having a job that fulfills you ethically and, you know, professionally. Not many people get to have that.
You know.
So yeah, we're pretty lucky.
And then why at some of them are you both there? Was that just a coincidence?
Sometimes we need moral support.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, obviously, if it's in a bigger event, and especially multi-day ones, like, you can't have a coordinator be on call for 24 hours a day, so we'll kind of split shift them up kind of thing. Yeah. And sometimes we're just both there because we like each other and want to go, go to a festival together.
I just go hang out at Cinty's festival sometimes. Actually, you never come. No, you do. But
I
that's
did.
No,
I came to Ocean Alley.
You did come to Ocean Alley. Yeah. I will let you off the hard style ones. But yeah, I was going to say something.
You came to Knotfest, even though you didn't like it for
Knotfest,
me.
And that was a whole thing. I got the green whistle. Actually, that was the funniest thing I did at a festival. Dislocate my shoulder while taking off a T-shirt, relocated it, and then just kept going.
I was in the stakeholder meeting because you were like the first serious injury of the day while doing that.
The weird thing was, I walked in and it was the guy who was running the thing from the event I was working at last weekend, and he's like, "Hey, what do you need?" And I'm like, "Can you just put my shoulder back in?" And he's like, "Yeah, wait." And I'm like, "No, I want the green whistle first, please." And he's like, "Can you go back to work?" I'm like, "Not right now. I'll just fine."
Later.
Anyway, it didn't work and they just popped it back in, and I was like, well, that was disappointing. But yeah, also with the two coordinator thing, that's what I was going to say. Sorry, I got on a tangent. We're looking at growth in terms of what we can deliver and the events, because we think that we should be at all events. You know, I think that there is something to be said at nightclub settings, at all those sorts of things, having a presence. And that's not necessarily the full shebang of your Care Space and your Rovers and your Cintys and everyone, but we are looking to train up more casuals to fulfill that role at smaller events, so we're able to be more places and help more people. And so that is why we're sort of focusing a lot on training up people to sort of have those skills so we can deploy to more areas.
I definitely I can see this program going like the sky is the limit. Like the more engagement, because a lot of what do you say?
We're trying.
Like like my peer group in the sense of like expats, like honestly I had no idea what you guys were until I went to Lost Paradise, and I was like, that's so good. Now I'm such an advocate for you guys. And then like other people that know me, and like, you know,
You've sent us a lot of good people.
Yeah, and it's that I don't even know those people just from like the idea of it. So I'm like, knowing that service is there, because I didn't touch on it at the beginning, and I won't go into too much detail, but I had like a really bad experience at a music festival in New Zealand. Like I was not like in a good way at all. My friend had a different but complete opposite end of the spectrum reaction. I was physically unwell. She, you know, was mentally not in the best spot, and I ended up in New Zealand at this festival by myself, and I was really, really unwell. I was like for like an extended period of time, and it was horrendous.
I'm so glad.
But then obviously I was all good. I sorted myself out, but the person in the medical tent was the meanest bitch I've ever come across in my life. I'm like, literally, how old was I? I was young. I was like in my first couple of years in Australia, young female on the other side of the world by myself, and she was just the biggest fucking bitch. And I was obviously all good. I've got myself out of it and I was fine, but like it wasn't a nice experience. So I just always think back to that and think, if you guys had fucking been there, that whole experience would have been so different.
Yeah, I think everyone has a story like that. Like, you know, everyone has had a time where they could have used fucking DanceWize.
Yeah.
And like, they weren't there. And yeah, I think the goal is to get us there. Because as you said, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I'm so glad you're okay. But apart from DanceWize, we are in New South Wales, you know, like...
And Victoria.
And Victoria, yeah. I cannot speak for them, but they do fantastic work. We're not the same organisation, though we have the same name. It's a long story. But, you know... this
very similar.
This needs to be everywhere, and it needs to be commonplace, and it needs to be the new normal, I think. Independent of us.
And I think it will get there for sure, because I think I'm not sure if we touched on it at the beginning. It's not just obviously the mental health and the physical health and reactions to drugs and alcohol and all that kind of stuff. Like, if you need sun cream, if you need condoms, if you need earplugs, if you need a lollipop, if you need hand sanitizer, if you just need a packet of chips, like it's everything you want. It's amazing. I'm like a huge advocate for you guys ever since I've interacted with you, because I think it's amazing.
Thanks,
the work that you
We're
guys
a big
do.
fan of yours too.
Yeah.
But I think, look, you touched on something there. Cinty raised the very relevant point of, harm reduction is condoms at camping festivals.
Oh, yeah.
That is probably the most important harm reduction thing that we give out at those camping festivals.
That is very true.
People love fucking in bushes and up against trees and behind stages, and at least just wear a glove, you know, like just, and if we can give that to them and there's no babies or chlamydia in that particular experience and it's just love, DanceWize rules. So
amazing. On that note, is there anything else you guys want to touch on? I'm just conscious of your time.
No, it's been fun. I like podcasts.
Yeah, I like podcasts too.
Well, I can't wait for you to start one soon.
Oh, yeah. Look, you're going to teach me some stuff and then we're going to get into it. I've got all the equipment. I just...
Yeah.
That's one thing you'll... Yeah.
I think I would want to end on the just say no approach. So know your stuff, know your substance, know your body.
KNOW.
KNOW, yes. Check out our website if you need any information about any particular drug combinations or substances. There's all a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, all of our resources are written by peers, but they have been reviewed by Ministry of Health. And we have one in there for pretty much any substance you can think of. And if you think of a new one, email us, because somebody will know.
Amazing. And you guys on social media too, on Instagram. We'll put all the links and all that.
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
No, we don't have TikTok
Do
yet.
we not have TikTok?
No.
I don't know how to work it anyway. We need a Gen... whatever the young ones are,
Oh my God, I'm like the exact same. We talk about stuff at work and I'm like, I don't know.
Whoever the young people who know how to use TikTok.
Hilarious. Well, again, thank you so much, Doolz and Cinty, our New South Wales DanceWize coordinators. You do an amazing job. You guys work so hard, and as much as it's all for the volunteers, like you guys are the backbone of it. So thank you for being so passionate, because I feel like, what you guys do is incredible.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
We love an opportunity to talk about this, probably ad nauseum to a lot of people in our lives.
Yep.
So it's nice to talk about it to a brand new audience who's not sick of our shit yet.
But you do love it, and that's the point.
Oh yeah, we do.
All right, well, we might leave it there. Thank you so much.